In my ongoing effort to help others learn from my mistakes, I'd like to share something with you that I learned many years ago from a book that I purchased in a discount bin. It's a great book. It's by a player named Warren Nunes. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that name incorrectly. I'm honestly not sure how to pronounce it. The book was great in showing some jazz language, things that you hear players play, and the notation showed how to finger and which strings the notes should be on, and also picking. And that unlocked what seemed to be the secret to being able to do some of these kinds of things. The mistake that I hope you can learn from is that this worked pretty well, and as I started to learn other things, I got away from this, and I've sort of rediscovered it recently. It's really good material. There was a pattern that sort of picks up on my last video that I did where I talked about playing triads within a key and sort of using the triads interchangeably, not necessarily focusing on playing a particular triad when a particular chord is sounding, and to just use the shapes as a guide and your ear to decide what works and what doesn't. And in the key of G major, I think I showed something that looked like this. This is a major triad, and minor triad on the second scale degree A, a minor triad on the third scale degree B, a major triad on C, and D is major, and so forth. Now, this particular C major pattern is my starting point. So if I'm in the key of G major, just using a C major triad, the obvious choice is let's play that over a C major in the key. In the key of G major, there is a C chord. It's going to sound sometimes. The way that he uses it in this particular book is over an A. So over an A chord, an A minor chord, sorry, he's using a C major arpeggio, and that gives you the sound of, with the A below the C major triad, it's an A minor 7 chord. That's 2 in our key of G major. And that way of thinking works. So that kind of goes back to use the things that sound good to you. Well, C major over an A sounds good. So the pattern that was derived from that was this: a major arpeggio, the 7th on top, and I'm playing G and B on the same string, on the 2nd string. And then move up a 4th from that 7th of the chord to the high string, and that's an E on top. So we're just doubling the E of that chord, and then down the scale. That works very well. And if you think in terms of the scale and how it sits on the top 2 strings, we can go all the way back to maybe the 3rd fret. And let's sort of outline what we've got on this string. Now, you know that the major scale from G, starting here, goes up by whole steps and half steps in a particular order. So we go up a whole step, and a whole step, and a half step, and a whole step, and a whole step. And that's as far as I'll go for this particular discussion. But on that string, I have those notes. Well, the notes on the B string that also are in the key of G major happen to be all on the same frets. So if I play this group of notes, that's a G major scale fragment. This is 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. From here I can go 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. From here I can go 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And from here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So what you see whenever you play these arpeggios going up and the scale pattern coming down, there's the pattern that just comfortably sits in that position on top of that arpeggio. Got my 4-chord or my C major arpeggio and with a scale fragment of the key, G major, coming down. My B minor triad. The fragment on top of that. Here's my A minor triad and the fragment on top of that. And my G major triad with. Now what we can incorporate is our bebop half steps and where those occur. Now, over G major, the group of notes had the additional passing tone between the 5th and the 6th scale degree. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 passing tone 6. That was one of the places where we used a bebop half step concept. The other one was between the 5th and the 4th scale degrees. That one works well over the 5 chord. So I might have this. And that's 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, passing tone 5. My first amendment to what was in this book was this. So instead of leaping up from B to E on the same fret, I went to the D. Now what that gives you is root, 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th of a C major 7, major 9 arpeggio. Over the top of the A note as a bass note, that gives you an A minor 11 chord root. I'm playing an open A string here. 3rd, 5th, 7th, 9th, and the D note is an 11th. So here's what I would play descending. And then over the B. And you could do the same. Over the A minor. There's a half step that I've added that's not one of the bebop half steps that I've discussed. It's convenient, so I'll try it. And there's the half step that we talked about between the 5th and the 4th notes. There's one between the 2nd and 1st note of the scale. If we use the relative minor 2, 5, 1, I've got F sharp minor 7 flat 5 to B7 to E minor 7 or E minor of some sort. So over the F sharp minor 7 flat 5 I could play C major. Over the B7 chord I might play the B minor. There's the passing tone that we just associate with bebop. It happens to very conveniently give us the sound of that D sharp, which makes this a major triad for our 5 chord, and so on. So if I play this over Autumn Leaves, which basically goes back and forth between the major and the minor key, you can have these kinds of sounds.